So we've talked about Sonic numerous times on the channel this week, primarily due to the upcoming Sonic Origins collection, and while I do have some very strong opinions on how Sega is going about the release of that game, it has me feeling very nostalgic for some of the mainline classic Sonic games, and in today's video I want to walk down memory lane together, boot up some of the old classic Sonic titles that made me a fan, a lifelong fan at that, of the series, and have a broad discussion of what we can expect from the Hedgehog going forward. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, it's a weekend video, so I'm doing something a little bit different today, but I do want to walk down memory lane together and essentially boot up what I consider to be probably my all-time favorite Sonic game, which is none other than Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That is also the one that we see have the most complications with re-releasing, as it has been quite a number of years. I believe the last run that this game was actually given a full re-release was back in the 2009 or 2011 era, something like that, with the Sonic collection that did indeed come to, I think it was the Xbox 360 and the PS3. And really since then we've had a big miss with getting Sonic the Hedgehog 3 specifically re-released, and I think you could argue that Sonic 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and Sonic and Knuckles are all pretty much the pinnacle of the series in terms of gameplay. The original is definitely great as well. They did not have the spin dash mechanic in the original game, so this entire, this very iconic Sonic power-up, or ability rather, that really is a staple of the series, was missing from Sonic 1. And of course, this was Sega's answer to Mario, essentially. And I'll have to readjust here because it has been quite some time since I've played Sonic games, but I think we'll get through it just fine. But this was definitely like the thing that if you had a friend like I did that owned a Sega Genesis right near you, it made you want to go out and buy one. It was definitely the system seller for Sega. And, ultimately the Mario style mascot that they came up with. And to this day, it's still a huge series for them. But obviously we know the complications that Sonic has seen over the course of time with, like, the dreaded 2006 Sonic the Hedgehog series reboot, if you will. It essentially was trying to take it into a full cinematic 3D world with a ton of bugs, ton of glitches, and a lot of problems with the gameplay overall. There's been missteps. There's also been great attempts at Sonic in 3D, such as Sonic Adventures 1 and 2, I think, by all accounts, are regarded as fan favorites as well. For some reason, though, they just kind of lost their step along the way with a lot of different 3D Sonic releases, and there's still fans of those out there, but it's never really come back like it was back in the day, like the Sega Genesis era, and then, a brief glimmer of some great games there on the Dreamcast and things with Sonic Adventures was really kind of the end of the hype, I guess, if you will, for Sonic himself. So I still have the heaviest nostalgia for these games, clearly. I will still be, like, to this day, I can boot one of these up and play through start to finish and just have fun with the entire experience through and through. They really have aged fantastic. And one thing I will say, while I'm upset with certain aspects, and we'll dive deeper into this in a second with the Sonic Origins collection that's coming out, being for lack of physical release and then just the kind of convoluted launch lineup in terms of how they're doing it DLC wise, which it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's also like, why do you have to release an infographic to tell gamers how to buy your game, Sega? Like, we're in 2022, you should know better than that, and you really shouldn't be nickel and diming different parts of the content behind different DLC packs. Just give us the collection, even give us it at a $40 cost, but include everything in there for that. I definitely think it's kind of weird that there's certain things that are just, locked behind temporary pre-order bonuses that's DLC included, and then it kind of goes away from that. And ultimately I'm going to pick it up just because I want, native widescreen support for a game like Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and playing those again with the new game modes that they've announced is going to be very cool. We'll just go ahead and get out of this here because it's kind of a repetitive area. If I can actually, since I run backwards, there we go. It's one of those things that, it really took a lot away from me, not only with the DLC aspect of Sonic Origins, but also with the fact that they are essentially skipping up the physical release altogether. And now I do have some hope that's remaining with that. I am hopeful that we will see them release a physical edition later, because of course we've seen them do that in the past, Sonic Mania being a perfect example, and somebody in the comments reminded me of that, which I appreciate, because I essentially, yes, I'm worried that it's going to get a physical, like, initially, or maybe just always be left to digital, but Sega has been known in the past to do things like that, where it only comes out digitally and then later on I think Sonic Mania was a unique example though, because they didn't know how that game was going to sell, and then whenever there was a huge, you know, fan reaction to it, they decided to release it physically. But I'm hopeful that the same thing with the Sonic Origins collection will get a physical collection one day, because chances are, I know a lot of people are starting to go the all digital route and things, but if you were a 90s kid and you grew up in the 90s or any time around then, video game collecting is essentially part of the hobby and part of the fun of gaming. You know, you go to your game store, you pick up your physical game, you look at the artwork, because that's essentially what sold you on the game back in the day. I'll tell you, I was not looking up Metacritic scores and seeing what other people were saying online about games before I purchased them. It was basically the artwork had to sell you, or you played it at a friend's house and became obsessed with the series, and then so you ended up buying one for yourself. That's essentially how it used to be done, and you know, I still have nostalgia for that aspect of gaming, so when possible, especially when we're talking about old school games like Sonic that I did grow up playing and collecting, I really wanted to have that option to purchase it physically out of the gate. That said, I mean, we'll probably make a video on it here on the channel on Sonic Origins Collection after it is released, and so I'm going to justify purchasing the digital edition rather, but I do know there's a lot of fan frustration around that, and it's something that I definitely hope that we see Sega address later on. But I think at this point we will go ahead and forward to some other levels, because we're still in the very beginning stages, and I want to show off some of the classic zones that I have the most nostalgia for on Sonic 3. Now here we have another iconic Robotnik boss fight, and if you guys don't know about Sonic 3, it starts the Knuckles story essentially. If you guys are familiar with the movie storyline for Sonic 2, it takes a lot of inspiration from that, as initially Knuckles is starting out as essentially an assistant to Dr. Robotnik. We've already had 2 little cutscenes where Knuckles comes in and essentially is messing you up or setting you back, if you will, and of course it ties into a bigger story later on. But something that's also very interesting about the development of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles is, if I'm not mistaken, these were supposed to be released as one game, but Sega chose, for whatever reason, whether it was that they couldn't get it done in time, somebody could let me know the exact reason behind it. I watched a retrospective or documentary that explained it at one point, but it's a little bit fuzzy on the details now. But essentially they chose to break the games up and release them both individually. And so that's why you have the ability to actually go back to Sonic 3 and play as Knuckles if you have that cartridge that has the insert where you can essentially put your Sega Genesis game of Sonic 3 on top of the Sega Genesis cartridge that has Sonic and Knuckles, which is a whole adventure in and of itself. But you can actually go back and replay these levels as Knuckles, which is a really, like, when I was a kid, that really blew my mind that was even possible. And so it's one of those things that, you know, you grow up later on, you figure out, oh, they actually wanted to release this as one standalone game, and for whatever reason couldn't do it. And that was the way that they, I guess, were able to justify the extra development time, is to go ahead and release them separately. Now, one of the stages I really want to get to, but I may run short on time just for like my own schedule and other things I have to go do today. Ice Cap Zone 3, or Ice Cap Zone rather, you guys may notice I use that in my background a lot. The music in this game is absolutely top notch and next level, and that's also one of the issues that unfortunately caused a lot of the problems with re-releasing this game, is because Michael Jackson was heavily involved in the production of the music, and there is just licensing right issues and things like that. And apparently, you know, it's something that if they pay the money, I think they can use it without a problem. But I think up to this point, you know, Sega hasn't wanted to do that with Sonic Origins. That's why that's kind of a notable release, because it's been super long since we've seen this game available, both this game and Sonic and Knuckles. You'll still see Sonic the Hedgehog 2 readily available. That's on NSO right now on the Genesis. Sonic 1 all day long, that'll be no problem. But like I mentioned earlier, it's been a long time since we've seen Sonic 3 actually released. And that's why I'm hyped for Sonic Origins, even though Sega's doing their screwy stuff with how they're choosing to release it. But you have this iconic zone. You also have, next up, you have the casino zones. Now, a lot of the Sonic zones do end up kind of being like they're repeated in their themes through a lot of the games, but there's always unique enough level design that it's enjoyable. And you'll notice this too, instead of just constantly going fast, there's platforming sections as well, where they essentially make you wait. And that can be problematic because of how fast Sonic goes. Like, it is a little bit harder to stop on a dime. That's some of these platforming sections are actually where I find myself dying more, just because you're used to typically just running all the way through a stage. And then of course they have these springs and really just these setback traps that make you rather frustrated whenever you hit them. They know exactly what they're going for, the game developers did. And then here you have like a mechanic where when you run, you are getting up higher, and then whenever you slow down, you'll go lower down to the ground. So there's a lot of unique gameplay elements to Sonic 3, even Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, Sonic Knuckles. I kind of all loop together in my mind. I think I have to do this from down here, maybe. At least that's just how I think about it. Oh, that's maybe not even the right way to go. And you'll also have multiple paths and things. You'll have a high path and a low path. You can play it super risky and just go as fast as you can. You end up losing your rings and dying quite a bit quicker that way. Some people probably have these games mapped out and memorized in their head. I've played them a ton of times over the years, but here recently, outside of the new talk of the Sonic games, I haven't gone back and played these, which is why, you know, after talking about it, using Ice Cap Zone 3 as background music from time to time, I just felt super nostalgic watching the trailer for the new one, which I am excited that they actually chose to do the fresh animations for the first time. I think that's a really cool touch in terms of like the movie parts and things. But they're adding in some nice work to that. And it just made me feel like, okay, it's been too long since I boot up these games. So I know I'm going to do it again in June whenever they launch, but it's still one of those things that I couldn't wait any longer, and I had to go back and play them today. So we'll probably end up cutting the video here pretty soon. I really want to hear from you guys on all your personal nostalgia for Sonic. Like, I mean, are you like me and you grew up in the 90s and you had either you owned the Sega Genesis or you had a friend that owned the Sega Genesis? Because back in the day, it's, at least to me, it seemed common in my friend circles. It's like you either had the Super Nintendo or you had the Genesis, but very rarely did I know anybody that owned both. And so fortunately, I got to really experience all the major Sega Genesis games just from having a friend across the street, or right across from where I lived. I could just walk over there at any point in time and play the classic Genesis games. But, you know, I want to hear from you guys and your nostalgia around the Sonic series, whether or not really how you feel about Sonic Origins. If you're like me and it's just you're kind of split on it because it's like cool that we're getting 16:9 support and we're getting, you know, upgraded visuals and new gameplay modes, but then at the same time we have this issue with digital only release and then the DLC packs, and it's kind of a whole mess. But we'll go ahead and cut it here in interest for time on the video. I do appreciate you guys sticking around until the end. Definitely share with me all your thoughts and feelings on all things Sonic, the future of Sonic, whether or not you want to see more 3D attempts like what we were expecting with Sonic Frontiers and the open zone, and whether or not you're more hyped for stuff like that, or if you just think Sega should stick to the old school 2D Sonic classical formula. So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about in today's video, I do look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Make sure you check out the Friday video if you haven't already, where we discuss yet another round of updates that just hit Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack and the surprise announcement of Splatoon 3's official release date. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.